Okay, MOvember, day 8. I shaved the mowing today, bit of a Gilram. It'll take a while to take shape, but anyway, here we are. So day 8, what I wanted to do is present a tool from Carol Juergensen's with Alan Katz's book, Help Her Heal. And it's an empathy workbook for sex addicts that help their partners heal from betrayal trauma. In the last decade, what has happened in the treatment of sex addiction is that it was observed with partners that the model of co-addiction that they've worked with alcohol and gambling and drugs isn't effective with betrayal trauma. To cut to the chase of that is because the love relationship is the only relationship that reflects the parent-child attachment relationship. And so when betrayal trauma happens to a partner, and on the back of a lot of gaslighting and staggered disclosures as a result of discoveries, is that the attachment is fractured. And so they moved from a co-addiction, codependent model to a betrayal trauma model, noticing that many of the partners had complex post-traumatic stress symptoms, and that if this wasn't acknowledged, that regular treatment techniques and tools weren't working. So over this MOvember and over my previous MOvembers, I've made a lot of, and will continue to make videos on all of the tools that go with addiction recovery. Tonight, I just want to really drill down and just grab one tool here that comes from a pretty often asked question when I'm working with addicts that are sober now and working through their own developmental trauma history, really getting better at getting some depth around the recovery, and yet their partner can still be at any given time triggered back into a complex stress reaction where they go right back and have the ferocity and the dishevelment of the earliest discoveries. And it's really overwhelming for addicts to think, holy smokes, I'm not doing anything wrong, and yet we're back here. And when an addict is under stress like that, they can say some pretty unhelpful things, and that, not respond with empathy and respond focusing on themselves, and why are you doing this, and can't you just get over it, and when's this going to stop? And that is just not worse than less than helpful. It's destructive to the process of building trust. So tonight, I'm just going to present this tool. You'll find this book is a great book, useful, and I would say really useful for anybody that has suffered from any addiction and they're in a marriage and they or a stable relationship and they want to get better at growing empathy. So tonight, I'm going to talk about the tool that Carol calls AVR, the AVR formula, and it's copyrighted to Carol, and you'll need to get the book to get this hard copy. So empathy, recognizing the pain your actions have caused her. And look, I would say that if this is a gay relationship, if it's a lesbian relationship, if it's a female sex addict to a male partner, all this still applies. So the AVR formula, partners consistently tell me that they want the addict to understand the depths and devastation of their pain. Although the addict is living with the pain that they have caused daily, part of the partner's healing process is to be reminded that her husband sees the pain and can link it back to the reason for the pain. This process must happen consistently for her to feel safe enough to trust the recovery process, and that's in bold. This has to happen. She wants to believe that you, her husband, will never do this again, but she has no guarantee. Her heart wants to trust you, but her head and experience is telling her it is not safe to be this vulnerable. So she keeps her guard up and looks for reasons to reject your attempts at honesty and authenticity. This is going to require that you consistently practice empathy in all sorts of ways. Using AVR assures her that you are linking up your previous actions to her feelings. It also reminds her that you are going to do it also reminds her what you are going to do to rebuild her foundation of safety. Often in therapy, the addict needs a formula to help him respond to this spouse in a way that shows her that he realizes the damage he has caused and how his sexual addiction has affected him. We have been trained to know that the quickest way that an addict can redeem himself and prove to his spouse that he will do whatever it takes to build the trust back is to recognize the pain and remind her that he knows he caused it. It is then important for him to validate her feelings and make sure he can assess her feelings appropriately, and then reassure her that he will do whatever it takes to rebuild the confidence she once had in him. So the AVR formula, the three things to it: A, acknowledging the issue. Practicing AVR requires that you acknowledge the situation and accompanying pain. And this is a really, like, I love Pia Melody's model around just being concise. What's happened? How do I identify this issue? If I had to film it and just describe it, not give it like lots of adjectives, just what's happened here. And let's connect the feelings to it. That takes some practice, especially for addicts, because they don't necessarily connect with their feelings or observe feelings in others. Validation. So the validation of the feelings using the 5 primary feelings. I can see as you discuss that issue that you feel anger, sadness, loneliness, happiness, or fear. And, I'm a Melody fan, so it would be, adding shame and passion and other feelings in there. But especially shame and guilt, I would add to that. But this is Carol's work. So she's really locating one of those 5 main feelings. So anger, sadness, loneliness, happiness, fear. And then R, reassurance that you will help her heal. I want you to know that I'm working on my recovery skills and I never want to go back to the old addict behavior again. So here's a little anecdote on how this might work. Mark and Sandra's story. Mark was a practicing pediatrician and had agreed to do 3 one-month mission trips to Haiti. After the second year of mission work, he began to act out in isolation while he was away on his trips. He had always felt that he was bisexual but had never acted on it, but being so far from home allowed him to spend hundreds of dollars on the internet looking at gay porn and searching sites that connected him to gay and bisexual men. When he came home, his addiction escalated and he started going to bathhouses and hooking up with men, participating in gay orgies. One of his patients' parents anonymously reported him to his work, and the practice did a routine search of his computer, finding all sorts of downloads of gay men, adolescents, and boys. He was immediately arrested for child pornography and lost his medical license. His family was devastated, and yet his wife stayed with him throughout his trial and his incarceration in prison. Now he is home and he is following all of his recovery tools and has 4 years of clean time, but one can imagine his relationship has been severely traumatized. The following is an excerpt from one of our sessions with Tom using AVR to increase empathy and fortify his coupleship. Sandra, I can't stand how I feel. It is like my whole body is affected. I don't want to go out. I wonder who is talking about me. I wonder if they think that I'm still crazy to be with you. I hate my life, but I am scared to leave. She looks at me and says, I love Mark, but I don't know how to get over my anger at his addiction and his choices. I also wonder if he is staying with me because he can. How can he be attracted to me if he wanted to be with men? Or if he had an obsession with boys, I'm really sick to my stomach. I move them both into chairs and face each other, and Mark starts by acknowledging Sandra's pain. Acknowledgement. Mark, I know it is so difficult to reckon with all the ways that I've hurt you. I want you to know that I can see that your deep pain. I can see your deep pain and confusion. It sounds like you feel stuck, and you wonder if you will ever recover from the trauma that I've caused. Validation. Mark, I can feel the anger that you have for me and for yourself, and I heard you say that it is making you sick to your stomach. Reassurance. I know it would be hard to have confidence in my efforts to be in good recovery, but I want you to know that you are the most important thing to me, and I will do whatever it takes to make you feel safe. I continue to remind myself of the pain that I've caused you, and I constantly ask myself, what does Sandra need to feel better? I love you and will do whatever I need to do to work through this. What do you need from me right now? And Sandra told Mark that she was considering an informal separation so that she could spend more time by herself to determine what was really in her best interest. Note, when you use the AVR, there is no guarantee that things work out for the better, but since Mark is in true recovery, he told Sandra that he could stay with his mother to give her some breathing room. So just a little note here that spouses are able to forgive and move ahead, but they have to know that the addict is genuinely sorry and is working on his sobriety with a vengeance. So your spouse will need to be assured that you have put her first relationally and will work on your integrity and honesty. Integrity and honesty are the core of relapse prevention. So without going through other examples, and that was certainly a tough example, like she said, it doesn't always work out. But what you'll find in the book is, and I'll just try and adjust this because I can never get the back, the front thing when you're filming. So using the AVR with her fears, and it gives you some little worksheets here that you can, so now that you have examples of other recovering, addicts that have written, it's your turn to think back on some of the frequent fears that your wife has experienced, and then use this empathy formula, the AVR, to write through these examples to practice. And so that you can get these tools and the worksheets. It's a fantastic book if you've got an addiction to sex and relationships, sex, love, and avoidance. But I would say, honestly, if you've gaslit and lied about drug use and alcohol, this book can be good. And look up Coach Carol on YouTube. This is Movember. It's day 8. I'm going to continue to bring tools. If you're in recovery today, make sure you go into your meetings and reaching out and doing whatever it takes to get well. And I look forward to continue to bring tools of recovery and that help men and women. But for Movember, that it's for men's mental health that I sort of champion, and I hope that these tools certainly make being in relationship with someone that you've caused a lot of pain for more hopeful. So, be gentle with your heart today, and good luck in recovery, and I look forward to seeing you on day 9 of Movember.